For the lady that asked about how to fish, after the program tonight, come and see me. In the back room, we have a smelt tent. And if you peek inside, you'll see the whole setup. And anyone else that wants to take a look, right in the back room.
Thank you so much.
I want to give a short history of a house and an elderly couple that lived on the Murphy Road when I was just 5 years old, in around 1955. If anyone doesn't know where the Murphy Road is, it's the dead-end road off the North Bend Road. You go past the town office, and it's your first left. That's called the Murphy Road. And it's, you know, a quarter of a mile, and there's a few houses on it. I had to research town books to find dates, which I'm going to tell you. I know about this house. It was actually more of a cabin. You can see it in the photo. Because my parents visited this elderly couple once or twice, and I was kind of always fascinated by the house itself. Was so tiny, and it was way up in a field, and when you went into it, they always had a huge jigsaw puzzle half done on the coffee table, so somehow that impressed me. And so I decided to figure out who was this couple. Their names were Captain McCormick, Captain Stanley McCormick, and his wife Dorothy. And in checking town records, I found that they first started paying property tax in 1953. So I'm assuming that's when they moved to town. And they paid property tax through 1966, and then there was no more mention of them in the town tax records, so they moved at that point. They were probably, I call them old, but when you're 5 years old, everyone's old. They were probably in their 50s around this time. This cabin was right across the street, right across the road from Arthur and Naomi Airline, which many of you know of. Naomi and her daughter were washed off the bridge in 1961. But that house was right across the road. They were neighbors with this couple, the McCormicks. Arthur Airline used to have a little business. He had a horse and a cow, and they used to make butter and sell milk. But in 1953, state regulations changed, and you had to pasteurize the milk. And he couldn't afford the equipment to do this, so he sort of went out of the business, and he got rid of his cow, he got rid of his horse, and he tore down his barn. And there's a big pile of lumber where the barn used to be. So in 1953, when Captain McCormick came to town, he asked Arthur if he could use that wood to build a little cabin. So Arthur said, sure, take whatever you want. So I'm told by an eyewitness who actually watched Captain McCormick carry board by board across the road and slowly build this little cabin. Next. The extension on the cabin was built a few years afterwards. The original cabin didn't have the right-hand extension. It was very tiny. And it was built over an old foundation, and I haven't been able to discover what was there before, what structure had predated this cabin. Alas, an eyewitness, Crystal Airline, told me that every time it rained or was very damp, the cabin smelled like cow and horse manure. And people in town learned eventually never to visit the McCormicks on a rainy day. Because it was quite strong, you know, using the old boards from the barn. They bore the traces of husbandry. And Arthur would often comment jokingly on a rainy day, aha, I bet that place smells sweet today. Some people have said that they think the captain was from Old Saybrook, Connecticut. That's where he was born. But he had been a tugboat captain in New York City for much of his career prior to moving to Maine. And there's a few odd details that I'd like to share with you. The captain kept turtles in the crawl space under this little cabin. And he would drill a hole through the shell, and pass a wire through it and tether the animal so it couldn't escape. He and his wife ate turtle meat on occasion. And after butchering a turtle, he would polish the shell and mount them on the wall as a trophy. This is true. This is an eyewitness report. Next. This cabin was sold a couple of years ago, and the red siding was removed and it was torn down, and the chimney is just all that's left, and you can see the old foundation underneath where the turtles were kept. There's another shot of the same thing. But shortly after it was demolished, new owners built a brand new house on the spot. Now, there's one more slide. This is what it looks like tonight. It's just been painted finally, the last of the construction is done, people are living in it, and it's built exactly over that old foundation. And every time I look at it, because I walk by this house every day, I'm glad it has a red roof, because I fondly remember the old red cabin that used to be on the spot. But I'm still trying to forget the turtles.
Okay, how many of you remember that I could sing? Believe it or not, I could sing one time. Back in grammar school, in high school, teachers thought I had very nice voice to sing. So this is a prelude to my story. Back in 1945, Surry Playhouse, which I don't know if you know where it was, the old Surry Cemetery. The Surry Playhouse put on plays there all summer long, and they needed some people to sing some stuff in the plays. So somebody told me that I was available maybe, so Jim Carey, who was the director of the Playhouse over there, came and saw me and see if I would come out and sing, be the singing telegram boy for this A Date with Judy, is the name of the play. So I did, and they needed to have a uniform. Well, I took my Boy Scout uniform, and that's what I wore as a Western Union boy. And I had to sing this song to this girl in A Date with Judy. Now, the old Surry Playhouse a little bit wider than this building is here, a little bit longer. The stage was up front like this, a little bit higher. And on the back end, on that side, was the men's dressing room, and on this side was the ladies' dressing room, and between them was a hallway. I don't know why, because they didn't pay much attention to it. So I learned a lot in that short time I was on the stage out there about how the other world worked, and how they looked, and what they did, and what they said, and how they acted. And for a boy who came off from Cunningham Bridge, an old farmhouse, it was quite an education there that summer. Anyway, I went through the thing and did the singing telegram for A Date with Judy. The next week, they put on another program which was called 10 Nights to Battle. So they needed somebody else to sing 10 Nights to Battle. So I was there the next week. Well, During these 2 weeks, I was supposed to be home haying, because my dad needed to get his haying done. And he was getting really excited about it, so I wasn't home, I playing around the playhouse. Well, anyway, I was at these 10 extra hours that week. The next week, they had another program, and I got another one. Well, so I was up there 3 weeks, and on the fourth week, my dad said, you know, you probably ought to get done, we need to get this haying done. Well, anyway, I got done my career in acting up at Surry Playhouse. And it was good. I learned a lot, though, about the life up there. More than I learned on 20 and I'll tell you that. Because that walkway between the men's room and the women's room was just a walkway. I don't know why they had one then. It was seat from one to the other. And they went sometimes real nice about all the clothes on to walk back and forth. So that was a better show of a young kid from Cunningham Bridge. So anyway, that was my career in the theater. And I was there about 3-4 weeks, and it was fun. So that's what I've done for almost a month back in 1945.
Abbie Ingalls was known and loved by almost everyone in this town. I'm going to read just a couple of excerpts from her obituary. For those of you who don't know her, I think this gives a brief summary. Abbie Ingalls, 85, died at a local healthcare facility on June 12, 1993. She was born in Surry, June 15, 1907, the daughter of Frank and Louise Ingalls. She owned a taxi and drove school children for 30 years. She was a former member of the Arbutus Grange and had been a singer and entertainer. She was a member of the Surry Historical Society and the United Methodist Church. Surviving her is one half-sister, Mildred Card of Ellsworth, and a special friend of 66 years, Lena Cunningham of Surry. So I put together a little slideshow of Abbie during the various stages of her life. So let's go through those. This is the youngest picture. That first slide is the youngest picture of Abbie that we've been able to find. And I'm indebted to Joy Small, who provided all of these photographs. Joy is her niece, am I right? Yes. Sitting on the bumper of her auto. Standing with the same cat, a different set of clothes. Here she's wearing a suit, and she's standing behind the house that she was living in, which was right on the corner, nearly opposite the store today. The house is no longer there. It was moved across the road and across the stream. And it's the house now that sits beside the old Surry Village School. This is what the house looked like. This is probably the 1930s, this photo. She is fishing at Southwest Harbor in this photo. And she made me a thunder hole. It almost looks like thunder hole in the background. Here she's splitting wood in front of that same house. And here she is again splitting wood, changing clothing. Now, we were talking about the Surry Consolidated School, the Claude L. Bonsey School. Abbie was one of the bus drivers early on at the school. This photo isn't very sharp, but it shows her and Rodney Saunders. Rodney's son is with us tonight, Richard, waiting to pick up kids at the end of the school day. And this is the last picture of the slideshow. This is Abbie, and her house was almost directly across from the old Methodist church right in the village, using a snowblower. I want to ask Audrey Carter to come up and read a newspaper article about Abbie that appeared sometime in 1932. She'll give you the date. But it gives you even more background on this marvelous woman. Audrey?
So I'll just add, so Abbie was my great aunt, and of course I only remember her as an older person. So all of this is sort of new to me, and especially those pictures that show her wearing a dress. So anyway, this article was written by Henry Buxton, Bangor Daily News reporter, on December 2nd, 1936 edition of the paper. The headline was Abbie Ingalls, Versatile Clerk. I ducked into Whitney's store, later it became Willard Kane's store, where I met one of the most versatile young women store clerks in the state of Maine. She is Miss Abbie Ingalls, 29 years old, as bright and smart and good-looking a young woman as I ever laid eyes on. Her beaming face fairly scintillates wholesome personality, and she is a great favorite all over town. But being naturally modest, she was not at all inclined to talk for publication until her boss, Roy Whitney, threatened to have her name put in the paper Abigail instead of Abbie. That scared her so that she loosened up right away and began to chatter. Abbie is the daughter of Mrs. Louise Ingalls, weighs 124 pounds to the dot, has twinkling blue eyes and biceps as hard as the knob on an old-fashioned umbrella. Brought up on a farm, Abbie at an early age began to do the chores of a boy. She worked in the hay field, and by this helpful exercise developed a lissom body with muscles and fibers of steel. Her lifting ability exceeds that of many men of greater weight. Recently, she lifted up a potato digger weighing 175 pounds and thinks nothing of lifting bags of grain in the store. Whitney told me that she is a gem of a clerk because she can do anything that a man can do and possesses tact to a marked degree. If I'm away, he said, and a motorist comes along and wants his oil changed, she crawls right under the car, unscrews the crankcase plug, and drains out the old oil. She is one of the best little mechanics I ever saw, doing all of the repair work on her own car, such as grinding valves and other work, which only a man is supposed to know how to do. And don't forget I'm a barber too, spoke up Abbie, her eyes dancing with interest. Oh my gosh, yes, gushed Whitney. She is a barber and a good one too. Keeps a shop open nights, cuts hair for both men and women, and shaves men too. I'm going to ask my Aunt Joy to come up and join me.
Abbie was my aunt, as she says, and she was a barber. And when I was about 7 years old, my sister and I went out shopping with the theater and we were going to visit Abbie. And she decided she was going to cut her hair. At that time, she was wearing a skirt. She grew that lifetime very much, and it buttoned down the front. It was a gray skirt with cloth-colored buttons on it, like this big round. And needless to say, I husband in the haircut. And she was going to see that I did. But she wasn't out in the long run. But my sister, good old sister, supposed to take care of me. She ran home and never got her haircut at all. So
That was my mother.
that was her mother, yes. Abbie was my favorite aunt, except for that one time.
Joy, stay. We have some artifacts.
Oh, yes, we have some artifacts.
I'll let you describe them.
This was my apron that she put around my neck.
Get closer to the mic.
This is the apron that she was put around her neck when she was cutting her hair.
The original apron.
The original apron. It was got a few, my 2 weeks of it, but nothing serious. I washed it. And this is a condensation piece. This is an old electric razor. And that's been around for quite a while.
And
And
she used.
this was to brush the hair off
Oh,
around the neck.
Thank you. Not so itchy now.
thank you.
And there is a book down there with some of the photographs of that in it. And it's on YouTube. That's how I like it.
Thank you. Thank you, Joy.
I have a question about
Yes.
Abbie. Is she the lady that baked cookies and gave them to the children?
I think Lena probably was the baker. Her companion Lena was the famous baker and jelly and jam maker.
Okay.
And they, of course, they shared a guest house, the Abilene Guest Home,
Okay.
which is right opposite the Methodist, the old Methodist church. And they often had a table in the driveway selling the baked goods and the jams and jellies. It was very popular, lots of tourist stuff, I remember.
John,
Yes.
what was the attitude of people in the town towards her and her special friend?
Well, I think as in the newspaper article sort of made this clear, she was one of the most popular people in town, and Lena as well. You know, Lena was a school teacher, I believe, right, for her career. And, I mean, I consider them leading citizens, and I think most people in town did. And they would be loved. And I think everyone here would agree with me. Next month at our Historical Society meeting, which is August 20th, our topic will be stagecoach lines, mail delivery, and river traffic in this region as it developed from 1825 to 1845. The presenter is Mr. Terry Christie.